Hello and welcome to Writing About Dance Lesson 2. So again, this is aimed at Key Stage 3 students, but it is some GCSE exam questions from Section A of the GCSE Dance exam paper. However, this is a really great skill that we can learn at Key Stage 3 to start writing about dance and articulating about dance, but also it leads perfectly on to if you are wishing to take GCSE dance. So, exam question number 1. So this question is very common in the GCSE dance paper, so we're going to tackle it again. I know that we've already, if you've watched Writing About Dance lesson 1, you would have already done this question, but we're going to have a look again and do another practice. So, describe a motif you could choreograph for your dance. Your answer should refer to actions, space, and dynamics. So it's super important for exam practice to unpick the question and understand what the question is asking you. So describing a motif. So first of all, you have to be confident on what a motif is. You could choreograph for your dance. So this is a hypothetical situation. So a dance that you're going to make up. Your answer should refer to actions, space, and dynamics. And this question is worth 3 marks. So understanding what a motif is. So it's a movement phrase encapsulating an idea that is repeated and developed throughout the dance. So put simply, it's movement consisting of about 3 to 4 movements. So it's a short phrase of 3 to 4 movements. So how are we going to achieve all 3 marks? So it must consist of 3 to 4 movements. It must be sequential, meaning it must follow a flow or a pattern. So it can't just be random movements jumbled together. When you read it out, you actually have to be able to envision somebody dancing that. And a way to check this is if you read it back to yourself, like you don't know what you're talking about, would you be able to actually practically dance this dance? If the answer is no, it's not clear enough, it's not sequential. So it's almost like instructions to another dancer to perform this short phrase of movement. And of course, you have to refer to actions, space, and dynamics. So reminding ourselves of what is actions, so it's the what of the movement, and of course you know your 6 basic dance actions, but I've also picked a variety of different actions. So tilts, twists, turns, swings, kicks, jumps, falls, curves, pliés, and of course there are loads more actions that you could pick from. Space, so the where of the movement, the where of the dancer. So first, talking about the level, so the distance from the ground you are dancing. Are you on a high level? Are you on a medium, so your standing level? Or are you low, so closer to the floor? Pathway, so looking at a bird's eye view of the dance and imagining the pattern or kind of pathway that that dancer has taken. Is it that the dance follows a curved pathway? Is it that the dancer follows a zigzag pathway? Do they follow a straight pathway? So quite a difficult one, but naming the way or the direction or the pathway that they travel in. Direction, so the facing of the dancer. Where are they facing? Are they facing the front of the stage, the diagonal? Are they facing dead flat to the side? Are they facing the back of the room? Where is the dancer facing? So those are your 3 elements of space. Dynamics, the how of the movement. So how is that dancer performing that action? So it could be soft, it could be sharp, it could be swift, fast, slow, smooth, rapid, and explosive. And there are tons more dynamics, so I encourage you to come up with your own unique dynamics as well. Okay, everybody, once you've done that, I would love it if you could colour code it yourself. So now have a read through of your answer and colour code the action space dynamics, or you could highlight them. Or if you don't have any colours or highlighters, you could simply underline the actions, circle the space, and maybe put dots around the dynamics, just so you're really clear if you have mentioned all 3. And I would like you to use, obviously, this criteria down the side here, this 3 bullet points, and give yourself a mark out of 3. Okay, moving on to two more exam questions. So develop the motif you have previously described by changing the use of levels for 2 marks. Okay, now let's unpick this and understand what it's asking us. So we have to develop the motif you have previously described. So you are referring back to the previous question. The first one that you've answered, which was to describe a motif using action space dynamics, you are using that motif and you are developing it by changing the use of levels. So how are we going to achieve these 2 marks? So it must be a moment from the original motif in the previous question. Must be some actions from that. And of course, you must have changed the levels. So you have to have picked one moment from the original motif and you have had to have changed its level. Okay, number 2, describe one use of space other than levels you could develop using your motif. Interesting. Okay, so again, unpicking the question, you have to describe one use of space other than levels. So we've already used levels in the previous question. Now it's asking us for another use of space. So this is where we have to know our different uses of space. And it has to be a development, of course, from your original motif. So again, how we're achieving these 2 marks must be a moment from your original motif, must be a change of space other than levels. You cannot use levels, but you can, of course, change the direction or change the pathway from your previous motif. So I have just gone through of how you're going to achieve both marks in both questions. So I would like you to write out each question and answer each question, please, in full sentences. I encourage you now to pause the video to take time to do that. Okay, on to our final question, our extra challenge question. So, develop the motif you have previously described by adding canon for 2 marks. So we should be understanding what these questions are asking us now and getting into the rhythm of this. So of course we are referring back to the very first question, our very first original motif that we described, and it's asked us to add canon. So of course you have to know what canon is. Have a think to yourself now. I'll give you 10 seconds. What is canon? So canon, of course, is when the same movement overlaps in time. So all dancers are performing the same movement, however that might occur one after the other. And the most common example of this, of course, is our Mexican wave. So everybody is performing that Mexican wave action, but it happens one after the other in canon. So to achieve these 2 marks, we are now recognising that our dance is a duet. So we have 2 dancers. Okay, so we've got 2 dancers. You're picking a moment from the previous motif and you are adding a moment of canon. Remember to describe that moment really clearly so the examiner knows that you know what canon is. Now I encourage you now to pause the video here. Write out that question, so develop the motif you previously described by adding canon, and then write the 2 marks. And then I would like you to answer this question. Off you go. Okay, quick plenary. So you are trying to name the movement. So here's picture number 1. And these are contemporary dance actions. We're trying to think of what are these 2 dancers doing. And of course, they are doing an upper body curve with the spine. So they are curving with the spine over. Number 2, what are these 2 dancers doing? So of course, they are tilting or performing a side tilt. Okay, what is this dancer doing? And the answer is a flat back position. This dancer is performing a side tilt and she's doing that in first position. And last but not least, Quite a difficult one to see. She's of course performing a curve with the spine, and she has just fallen and recovered. So another contemporary dance action of fall and recovery. But in this picture we can clearly see she's curving the spine and plieing at the same time. Well done everybody, that is the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me or email me. Thank you everybody and well done.